All right, I think I've started the recording. I will then upload this on YouTube. For everyone who's joined us already, thanks a lot for joining. We'll start in a minute. We have both the guests and Govind here.
I can.
I think someone unintentionally is.
No, I think that's Suryansh's.
Yeah, hello. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, I can. And
Okay, I got disconnected.
oh, okay. You are back with that old name. I'll rename you.
Yeah.
Okay. We should probably start. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another great episode of Founders Unfiltered with creators of products in association with Fair Angels. We've got Govind here from Fair Angels, who's been very kind enough all of these sessions very patiently listening to us yammer to founders and hear about their stories. We also have a set of co-founders today here. Both Suryansh and Ariman are founders for mymandionline.com. We will be figuring out how they went about creating this, thinking about this problem, how they're trying to solve it, and maybe we have an announcement later on. So first of all, I'd like to welcome both of you onto the show along with Govind. Hi, everyone. Thanks a lot for joining us.
Hi. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's our
Thank you for having us.
pleasure to have you here. We're very excited for this. Hi, Govind also. First of all, right off the bat, how did you come about with the idea of creating this company and what is the company about?
So let's just start with what is the company about, and then we can get to how we got the idea. So the company is basically a platform that we want to create to aggregate a specific community, which is the Kelawala community that we're targeting. And we're aggregating them by providing them a particular service, which is a one-stop shop service. Now, what that means is basically we provide them all the procurement at their doorstep, and they don't have to go to the Mandi. So it's a huge convenience for them. They save about 4 to 5 hours of going to the Mandi, sorting, purchasing, bargaining. And also they save about 10,000 rupees a month, sorry. Because otherwise they have to spend 200 rupees on transport, 200 to 300 rupees on transport costs every month. That's phase one of like the platform. The platform we're looking at is going to be released in 3 phases. The second phase would be to get these guys online. So by online, we mean we want to create both a vendor-facing and a customer-facing app. So a vendor-facing app would mean that these guys would become online and order directly to the warehouse through their mobile app. Then gather a lot of data and insight into where exactly they're selling, how much they're selling, what kind of products they're selling in each. That will give us a better estimation on our size, market size, as well as what kind of products we should be selling in those particular localities. It also allows the Kelawala a much larger reach of customers. They have a fixed customers in these people, but if once you're online, you're allowed to call this Kelawala to your doorstep and then purchase items from him directly. It's the third and last phase is more of a value addition phase.
Go ahead.
Ariman, you muted yourself.
Sorry, we'd like the third phase is more of a value addition phase where we'd like to add a lot of facilities for them, such as a fintech company coming on board, providing microlending to them, get them completely on UPI. The third is also building specific EV cards for these guys with partnership with an EV company that would make them more mobile and able to sell more faster. So that is the basic idea of what My Mandi is. And we aim to target specifically tier 3 cities, creating one of the largest last mile delivery networks in the country by accessing these distributors that are readily available throughout every nook and corner. I'll let Suryan answer how we got to the idea. I think I'll let him know.
Sure. So before we do that, I think it's a good idea to give a little bit of background about where we come from and what our experience has been. So I graduated from UCLA in 2019 with a degree in electrical and computer engineering. And after that, I was working in the south of LA with a couple of EV companies working on lithium-ion batteries and power converters. And right before the advent of COVID in the March of 2020, I decided to come back to India and start my own entrepreneurial journey, which is when Ariman and I got reconnected. We've been friends for over 10 years, but we started discussing these ideas and stuff about 2 years ago. During that phase, while Ariman was working at BCG and I was sort of just figuring out my own entrepreneurial stride in India, we got discussing, as to what are the big key players in the industries right now, which is the online industry, the online grocery business. So what we realized was that a lot of these big players like Big Basket, Grofers, Zomato, all these guys, what we noticed when we ran the numbers was that as these guys were to start scaling up and expanding very fast and rapidly, their unit economics was not making sense to us. Mm-hmm. And that was predominantly because it was a very driver-driven model, where they had to keep hiring more and more drivers or paying more and more expensive drivers to make the deliveries on two-wheelers. So once we looked at that main problem of scaling with that method, we realized that rather than hiring these drivers, we should actually be aggregating an existing community, which is already ubiquitous and prevalent around the country, right? So we'd really save up on that cost for delivery and last mile logistics. So the whole pain point actually happened to be the last mile logistics cost. So by observing this entire community of people that is, ubiquitous throughout the country, which is the Thelawala community, right? We decided rather than onboarding them and putting them on our payroll, we should actually enable them using technology and other value-added services like Ariman mentioned. And, we should give them a platform where they can actually go ahead and compete with all these other, big players, big giants that are actually trying to go and capture their market. Mm-hmm. So that's the sort of platform, we wanted to create.
All right. Do you exclusively deal with only the grocery part of e-commerce, or because there's a lot more that these Blinkits of the world and the Big Baskets of the world have started to venture out into that might not need like the logistics backends that grocery needs, but they are a revenue generating stream for them. So are you currently exclusively focusing only on the grocery part of things?
Yes, we're currently focusing only on the grocery part of things, but in the third phase, when we kind of mobilize with an EV company to create these specifically designed EV cards, our aim is to create a compartment below the Thela, the EV Thela, where we are able to even put FMCG products. So it diversifies, the kind of SKUs that these vendors hold. And they then can be a mobile Kirana store that can deliver all these products to the customer.
Awesome. Govind, you have a question? I have a loads.
No, taking a cue from Suryansh's earlier point, everyone is looking to hire or create the delivery guys. How did you guys think of, let's create entrepreneurs, let's add value to them, because that seems more valuable in the larger picture, right? So was it first the other choice, then this choice, or was your goal always creating or helping entrepreneurs in some sense?
That's good. So very interestingly, we ourselves also first went with the driver-driven model, where we had these electric rickshaws that we had converted to, basically have like a little store in the back, like a vegetable store in the back. And we used to get these drivers, hire them, train them, and have them sort of roam around in colonies and, deliver and try and sell this fresh produce. But what we realized very quickly was not all these guys were very good salesmen, right? Not everybody has the knack for, selling fruits and vegetables. And the person who does it best is actually a Thelawala outside your house. So rather than competing with him, we decided, why are we wasting our time? Why don't we just help, these guys out, aggregate this community and, sort of build on that.
I think also, they were not incentivized. We realized these drivers that were on a fixed salary, they just were there like roaming the cart around, and they had really no motivation to sell. They would think, oh, if a customer comes, we'll sell. If they don't come, they don't come, because the risk of investment was actually on us rather than them.
Right. So as of now, apart from having maybe a Paytm or a QR code, these guys had nothing else, right? I mean, in the sense, you can do everything from them, from getting a loan to supplying something to helping them get credit, whatever else is there, right?
Correct.
Yes.
So what's very interesting, Govind, you raise a very interesting point here. If you look at the average life of a thelawala in our country, the informal sector that is going on in terms of the lending space is actually so oppressive for these guys. You don't know, but they actually end up paying almost 1% per day interest on the loans they take on these informal sectors, which means it's almost 360% that they end up paying at the end of a year if they end up taking that loan for about a year. And for them, it's something that they don't know because they don't have access to finances from banks, from microcredit systems and things like that. Simply because they don't have any financial history, they don't have any data to back their business up. And you'll be surprised, we have vendors who purchase stock worth 10,000-15,000 rupees every day. That means they're doing almost a sale of 5 to 6 lakhs per month on their thela. And yet they have no financial credibility in the market.
1% a day, I mean, just that business is, if you can rationalize it, 2% a month, because I thought 2% a month is informal lending. I've never heard of 1% a day.
1% a day, 1% a day.
Awesome.
So my last question before I hand it to Shruti, like everyone, when they start a business, there's obviously theory and there's practice. So what were 2 or 3 unique things you found, like random things,
I think firstly, our first step was just entering the Mandi. That itself was a very unique experience. I don't think any of us had thought that the Mandi would be what it is when, like it's so unorganized. It's so
fragmented.
It's very difficult to describe on this, because I'm sure if we do start describing it, people will stop eating the vegetables that they purchase from the Mandi. But I think that itself was an extremely eye-opening experience. The second thing, obviously, was the ability of these guys to sell and purchase. I think this is one of the most powerful models because it's probably one of the only models in the world where you have a customer base, which is your thelawala for us, who purchases 4,000 to 6,000 rupees every single day. And that value will also be growing as you add more things to the SKUs and for them to purchase and take from you. But the fact still remains that there's no business right now in the world where a customer is purchasing from you every day a value of 5,000 rupees or 6,000 rupees.
Right.
That is the power of this model. I think that's the second unique thing. And then the last thing, I guess, would be the fact that our wastage.
No wastage.
So like the industry standards is like 14%, and we're at 1%. And that's purely because, we basically take pre-orders and look at our demand before procurement, whereas most companies will do the procurement and then generate the demand. And then you have a lot.
Team win-win from each side. Yeah. Hand it to you,
Shruti. So I was actually very curious. You're actually trying to solve for the thelawalas, and you are trying to make their life easier, but they are already the target for a lot of companies who want to get their stuff online and give them a cut of the inventory that they provide to them. So how did you convince them that you were not like the rest of them? And 2, how are they directly benefiting? I mean, I understand the long-term benefit of having access to credit or access to an online business or having getting the help from you. But what's like the immediate benefit that they get out of collaborating with you? That's the second question. The first one, how did you end up convincing them?
Right. So if you actually look at the life of a cart pusher, so the first thing we did was we actually went down to the entire grassroots and we actually observed how these guys operate, right? So if you just look at the average life of a thelawala in our country, this person is waking up at 2 a.m. Okay, his day starts at 2 a.m. He goes to the Mandi by 3 a.m. He's spending about 4 to 5 hours at the Mandi where he's trying to haggle with 100 different suppliers, trying to get the best quality produce at the best rates. Then he's spending about $200 to $300, every single day to get that stock transported from the Mandi to his place of business. And then after spending about all those 6 hours and all that money and that energy and that time in the Mandi, he then starts his sales at about 7 a.m. and goes on to do his business all the way till 9 p.m. So his one working day is about 16 to 18 hours. So that's the first thing we noticed, was that the amount of effort that's going into this person's business is ridiculously high, right? So and the return he's getting is just not what he should be getting with that level of effort. So the first thing we realized was, let's try and optimize their level of effort that goes into the business and streamline the processes for procurement. So we don't even go and talk to them about credits. We don't talk to them about anything in terms of EVs, nothing like that. We simply go and we ask questions. We go and ask questions like, what time do you wake up? He says 2 a.m. Okay, you go to the Mandi. What do you do in the Mandi? He says, I haggle with 100 people, right? So we try to make them understand that it is a problem. And the sheer reason that they don't understand it's a problem is because they don't have any alternate solutions at the moment. For them, it's been a way of life for the last, century, I would say. Yeah. So it's something that they don't even know that, can be solved for. So when we actually go try and make them realize that, hey, this is a problem and we have a solution for you. So it forces them to think that, hey, am I doing this right? Are these guys actually coming and helping me? And when we do go and convince them, we don't ask for the entire order. We don't say you place 100% of your order on our platform. We say you start small. You build confidence with us and let us build confidence with you. It's a relationship that we build with these guys. And gradually over time, in about week, 2 weeks, when he's comfortable with taking our supply and he realizes suddenly his quality of life has jumped up. He's not waking up at 2 a.m. anymore. He's waking up aram se, he's having his tea, he's reading his newspaper, and his stock he can see his stock reaching him at 7 a.m. It's a very simple life. Now he's working as a businessman, right? Rather than as a thela wala. So that's the differentiation that we bring to his life. And that's the convincing power that we have.
Okay. And that would be different from the rest of the big baskets and the Blinkits. How?
Correct. Because
so big basket.
Yeah, go ahead. No, good. It's very different from Big Basket and Blinkit, because Big Basket actually doesn't partner with any Kirana stores. They have their own inventory and stock that they purchase and keep. Whereas and Blinkit partners with Kirana stores. We are partnering with a community that no one ever has touched or has spoken. So these
even scared to touch.
Yeah, these Thedawala communities, no one has ever thought of part, which is what makes the model extremely unique. So that's I guess that's one of the USPs of this model as well.
Okay. How big is your team, and how many people are on ground speaking to these folks? And like, what's like the how often do you go? It's not like a one-time thing and you come back and you make a solution. You constantly need to be having that relationship nurtured. So how many people are you currently in the team, and how do you go about nurturing that relationship?
So at this point, we have about 35 people on our team, which includes all departments, including procurement, including warehousing, including sales and accounts. So these are the 4 main departments that we have. And at the moment, we're operating in Gwalior, which is in Madhya Pradesh. So just looking at the sales strategy as to how we go and onboard these thelawalas, what we do is simply we go to the Mandi, which is the local main Mandi of the city. Okay, and we go and set up a canopy at each entrance of the Mandi. And canopy being like a little, shelter where there's the little branding and everything, right? So what we do is at 4 in the morning, we keep a canister of tea, and we basically distribute free chai at 4 in the morning in the Mandi. And we have a guy on the mic, and he's just just talking about the platform and what are the benefits, and he attracts these people because the entire footfall of the entire Thelawala community is available at 4 a.m. in the Mandi, because there's no other person who's waking up at 4 a.m. and going to the Mandi except for the Thelawala. So our entire target market is available in one place. And basically they come on, they get acquainted with the platform. We take their registration down, we take the number, phone, location, delivery size, things like that. And literally within the next 3 hours, as he goes, takes his stock to this place of business, he is contacted by a sales executive. saying, hi, you registered at our platform at the Mandi, you saw our canopy, you met our promoter and everything. So I would like to fix up a meeting with you. So it's more of a formal business that we're now doing with them, rather than, being a very informal space where, you're like, okay, fine, this, that. No, it's a proper structured process through which we take them and try and formalize their business.
Okay. Now, from what I understand, the whole business setting that ends up happening at a Mandi is very unorganized. It's very, very unorthodox also for a lot of reasons, but it's mostly chaotic, non-structured, and unorganized. Now, while trying to build that into a structured, formal concept, because at the end of the day, when you create a company, you will need to have a structure to have understanding of both the market and have that understanding given to your investors. So how have you been able to create a structured, organized platform from an unorganized, very haphazard Mandi structure? Now, and why I ask this is because it's two completely different worlds that you're trying to merge and build together. How have you been able to do that?
So I think it's a good question. So first is that in order to organize it, you have to get as many Thela orders on your platform, firstly. So in the last 3 months, we've gotten about 100 Thela orders on our platform currently operating. I think that's step one. Step two is then organizing, I guess, the whole supply network. So like, as you said very correctly, the Mandi is extremely unorganized and fragmented. It's very difficult to traverse through and find the right products. So what we did is that instead of training, a full procurement team in the Mandi, because it's a very skilled task to have, because everyone's scheming everyone, right? So we decided that we would work with the Arthyas of the Mandi. So the Arthyas are basically one of the top agents in the Mandi itself, and they are the people who buy like all the large volume bulk items. So like they buy in tons. In the Mandi, as soon as the farmer comes in. A lot of them have already built-in relationships with farmers because they provide loans to them, so they have to supply to them. So these guys now do the procurement for us, and we basically put them on contract with the company. And the contract is a very strict contract discussing, because we have people in the market giving us prices every day, so they can't add a margin and then sell to us and stuff like that. So they can't, even quality is a very important point within that contract. So we've created this very important detailed document which they sign in when they get onboarded, and that's how the whole procurement side is also streamlined. So it makes it easier for us to get the produce on time and make sure that's quality produce coming in, because looking for quality produce also is a pain in the money. So I think that's step two, and then step three is just usually organizing the whole dispatch process. And making sure that it's in an organized fashion, it's reaching everyone on time, because this is one of the pain points of the Thela order, is that he cannot wait, for it to be 9 a.m., 10 a.m., 11 a.m. Like he needs to start his sales at 7:30 a.m. So just getting all the orders dispatched at the right time in an organized fashion, so that everyone receives their orders latest by 7:30 a.m. So that's the main ways in which we organize this whole system. And
just to add to Ariman as well, so how the Mandi works is usually the biggest supplier or the bull of the Mandi is given very high preference, because they usually end up controlling the supply of certain items. But what also helps, what we realized, is to be the biggest demand aggregator in the Mandi. So once we go ahead and aggregate the demand of 100 cart pushers, 500 or 1,000 cart pushers. So just to give you a perspective, there are over 10,000 plus cart pushers in the city of Gwalior itself. And our target is to go ahead and aggregate 1,000 of them by the end of this year. So once we have 1,000 cart pushers, and even if one person is ordering 10 kilos of onion, you're essentially aggregating 10 tons per day, and that is a very hefty, sizable volume for one player to generate. So when you go into the Mandi with that sort of volume, people have their eye on you and they want to be attached to you. People are not looking to scheme you at that point, because they know it's going to end up badly for them in the long run. So I think that's one of the reasons when we do call these suppliers the Arthyas, or the supply agents to our offices, we tell them that, hey, this is not a one-time business. We are here in for the long run, and if you tie up with us, you'll be earning in the long run as well. So that's something that we have to sort of change the mentality of the Aratyas and the supply agents in the Mandi as well.
Correct. I'll give it to Govind after this question. I want to take a step back and understand. None of you have come to this with an e-commerce or even an online business background. Although you have been working before you started this company, so you do know how businesses run, but not precisely an e-commerce or, for that matter, any internet one. So how is it that you think that you are bringing a perspective that probably not anyone else could do in this position?
I think it's again, I think that part of this is that when you come with so much of a background, your glass is already full.
Correct.
So I think that's the different perspective that we get, is that we come with a glass that's completely empty. So we're constantly learning, we're constantly analyzing, we're constantly observing what's happening in the ecosystem and how we can do it better. And that's why even when it comes to the inventory management, which is the important part of it, OpEx is extremely light compared to all other e-commerce businesses. And number two, our wastages are so low compared to other e-commerce businesses, because it's 14% compared to 1%. So we've been observing how these guys function and what are the pain points that these guys have, and based on that we've learned and adapted to a model that could probably be more efficient than them and also profitable. I think that's the main point here. I think that all these models out there are burning money like anything, and we want to create a model that's not only a good, strong business, that has a strong valuation, but is also at the same time profitable.
Correct. I was actually curious. All of this is currently in the scope of one market in one city, which would probably be, a lot of investors will look at it as it's optimized for that city. When you scale to other cities and whatever is the plan to do that, have you identified what makes it work for every city? Because the kind of unorganized sector that the Mandi section is, it will be different for each city, different with terms of what kind of produce they get every season. Seasonality makes a difference. Price points are different. The structure of the lead Mandi owner, what the characteristic is, that's different. So is it that your current optimized version of having the least amount of wastage and having the perfectly curated business plan only city specific, or do you intend to have this other places as well?
Definitely intend on having this in like multiple cities.
It should be pan-India very soon.
And Suryansh have already identified a couple of cities in the next phase that we'd like to expand into, such as Lucknow, Jaipur, in Agra is another one that we're looking at. So we have already identified a couple of cities that we'd like to expand into. In terms of the scalability of the model, we have worked on a playbook that we have created that allows it to be scalable. In terms of the mindset of the target market, I think that's the main, I think that's the most advantageous for us, because these are pain points that every thelawala feels. So for us to then tap into the market becomes much easier, and capture their attention becomes much easier. And if we're already successful in Gwalior, then we can use that to our advantage and prove to these guys that this is a model that's been successful in Gwalior. So why don't you come on board and try it out? In terms of even the Mandi side, I think that Suryansh pointed it out. I think that these guys are once you show the volume of the orders you're trying to bring in, it makes sense for these guys to partner with you. So that makes it a much easier task to get these guys on board as well. Suryansh, you want to add to that?
Sure. And also, if you just look at the life of a thelawala, any thelawala around this country, right, it's pretty much standard. Everyone's waking up at the same time, everyone's starting their business at the same time, and they're selling for the same number of hours. At the end of the day, it boils down to three main key issues that these guys face. The first one being time. All these guys want their produce by 6:30, 7 a.m., right? Because so that they can make their morning sales, and which is their peak sort of earning hours. The second one is quality. these thelawalas are very picky about the quality that they sell. And we don't deal with any thelawalas that deal with low quality produce. We only deal with the ones that have the ability to sell the high quality produce at good rates as well. The third one being rates, because the Mandi rates fluctuate literally on an hourly basis, right? It's not even a daily, it's an hourly basis. So for them, picking the right rate at the right time is also a big hassle, because they have to sit in the Mandi from 2 a.m. all the way till 8 a.m. and see what is the best time to pick that best produce at the best rate. Right. So ultimately, if you have one standardized sort of platform where they know that everyone is receiving the same produce at the same quality, at the same rate, at the same time, so it really standardizes the quality of life for all these thelawalas across the country.
Correct. Govind, you had a question?
Yeah. So I was just thinking the way Meesho is now coming in the limelight, because it was reselling through resellers. Now it's going direct. So it's clipping some wings. Flipkart and Amazon have clipped a lot of Hirapanna style Mumbai malls and their wings. Have you clipped any wings, or is everyone winning so you don't see a problem in some sense? I mean, is there anyone who's losing out in this whole process?
I mean, definitely in the Mandi, there are 3 intermediaries that are prevalent currently in every Mandi. And one of the points of the model is that we cut 2 intermediaries in the Mandi. So there will be definitely people who will lose out in the process, which are these 2 people. However, if you look at the general volume,
grand scheme,
of how many orders and how many people purchase in the Mandi, what we're targeting is basically the drop in the ocean. So it's not going to be that much of an effect on them. But yes, if your question was, if does anyone lose out? Yes, there are 2 intermediaries that we will be cutting.
Which are they? Mean one is a money lender, or is there someone else?
No. So within the Mandi, there are 3 intermediaries. There's the Arthia, there's the Mashrakor, and then there's the Footcut. So they sell by volume. That's how it works in the Mandi. So we basically cut them because we are purchasing such a high volume. So we don't need to purchase from them.
So they are moving from semi-wholesale to fully wholesale and losing out on some margin, basically.
Correct. It's actually a lot of margin. You'd be surprised, how much margin there is added on each layer. And even the end thelawala, if you buy something for, let's say, 10 rupees, he's easily selling it to you at 20-25 rupees. You don't even know it.
Got it.
But that's
you don't
also
see
because
problems. I mean, those are. So they'll still have some role, though their margins will get reduced. They won't disappear, right? In some sense.
No, they won't disappear. They won't disappear.
Understood. So I think some questions have started. We can ask.
Yeah. All right. So Sanjana has a question. Are there Mandi or Thelawala unions you may have a problem with?
And you may choose not to answer the question if it's sensitive.
Of course.
That we may have a problem with, or that they would have a problem.
That the whole mymandionline.com will pose a problem for them or them for you?
No, actually, we'd love to partner with the union. I think it would create a much easy platform for us to go ahead and just pitch to a union directly. And I think they would love for it, right?
Yeah, I don't see a problem with any union, because we're not hiring anyone. It's not like
we're not undercutting anybody.
Are purchasing from us. They're not hired. They're a customer. So if they choose not to avail the service, they can choose not to avail the service. So in the Mandi itself, it's also, again, like we said, it's a very less chance for there to be a union, because what we're basically taking from them is a drop in the ocean. It's 1,000 thelawalas, which is not very much.
And is there a cluster effect somewhat? So what happens is, suppose, say, someone starts buying from you guys, as Suryansh says, obviously there'll be a practical element of them not having to go and wake up so early and saving some money. So does these 100, have you got a lot by word of mouth or in one cluster, or is there an effect that it'll become viral in some sense? We are saving money, sleeping better and time with these guys?
Definitely. I think we also haven't onboarded that many thelawalas yet, even although we've got like a long list from these Canopy.
On purpose. Yeah.
Because right now we're just in the process of raising money, and now it will be shifting into a larger warehouse, which can then take in that sheer volume of orders. So at that point, we'll be scaling up a lot faster. And like you pointed out, the word of mouth in this community is extremely strong. I think that's the most powerful way of getting these guys onboarded. And they have definitely, they themselves, we have a referral system as well. So they themselves have definitely referred a lot of Thelawalas onto the platform. And that has been the best.
It's a very tightly knit community. Yeah. It's a very, very tightly knit community.
Exactly. It's the best way for us to onboard Thelawalas.
Yeah. Awesome. And also, when someone sees like, there's a person who's coming and delivering my produce to the person opposite me, basically like, the guy's not going to the Mandi anymore. So it leaves a very sort of impact on the person as well. Okay, like, how is this guy's life changed completely and I'm still stuck in that old way, right? So it does make a huge impact on the person who visually seeing the,
yeah, and your acquisition cost is also much lower because it's basically one person by word of mouth telling the other person, say this, and like, or someone else observing that this guy has a certain advantage compared to me. What is he doing right that I'm not doing? So then he'll ask the other person. So that reduces the customer acquisition cost for us as well. Yeah.
Awesome. I have a question from Rashi. Rashi, if you'd like to unmute yourself, ask your question. Otherwise, I can just read it out. All right, I think I'll read it out. So her question is, how are investors responding to such an ops-heavy business?
Sriyansh, you want to take that? Or you want?
Yeah, so hi Rashi, thank you for the question. Our business is actually not very ops-heavy if you look at the industry in general. Simply, number one being that we have completely eliminated our driver-driven model. Right? So we're not hiring any drivers to deliver our produce. The only ops that's involved is in the warehouse, which involves the sorting and the packaging. And that's about it. And even for the sorting aspect, Arman and I are looking to partner with certain, grading companies, which are grading produce by quality now using artificial intelligence. And that will itself reduce our manpower by 30-40% in the warehouse itself. So if you look at it, I mean, we do have 30 people in the warehouse right now, but that's across all departments. And we're able to serve over 300 Thelawalas just with these 30 people. So actually, it's a very OpEx light rather than an ops heavy business.
Yeah, and also we don't have any cold storage, things like that as well, because the produce moves within hours. So it comes in starts coming in at 12 at night, and then there are 2 phases: 12, 3 a.m. and 5 a.m. And then everything is just packaged. It's out of the warehouse. So we don't store it. So
who does the delivery then? Sorry, who does the delivery? It's you guys only, right?
Yeah, so we have.
So we do deliver.
Partnered with logistics company that provides us the Tata Aces, but our sales agent goes in one truck each, which has approximately 8 orders, and each truck is packed according to the neighborhood.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's actually very fascinating that you don't even need storage, because I understand that storage and making the produce stay consumable is one of the biggest challenges that a lot of companies face.
Yeah.
So if you've been able to eliminate that maybe by design of the business, that seems to be an absolutely trailblazing thing. I have another question here. Where's your headquarters, and are you guys taking undergraduate interns?
No, I mean, Sriyansh, you want to take that?
Yeah, so our headquarters is in Gwalior at the moment. Yeah, I mean, definitely let's get on a call after this. Please drop us a message and we'll take that up.
I'll share
Thank you for your interest.
any email ID that you'd like me to share with the team.
Yeah, you can just email me at suryansh@mymandionline.com. I'll drop in the chat.
Sure, I'll do that. Now I had one question. What kind of a time frame are you looking to expand to other cities, and how much of that do you think you've been able to accomplish? I mean, as in like from the past, how much of your plans have you been able to currently accomplish, and how do you see yourself progressing for the rest of the cities in the country?
So we've definitely, first of all, in terms of accomplishments, I think we've definitely been able to accomplish our monthly growth targets. So we've been growing at approximately 2x each month. So that is something that we have been able to achieve. In terms of expanding into other cities, I think that will be in the next, I guess, 8 months. Post us really flourishing in Gwalior and scaling up at a high level, be raising a fresh round of investments, which will then enable us to go into 5 or 6 more cities.
Awesome. Govind, do you have a question? I see another question from the audience, but if you have one, I'll wait for more questions to come up. I
think the question by Mishika is interesting. So,
all right, Mishika, if you'd want to unmute yourself, ask that question. Otherwise, I'll read it out. Okay, I'll read it out. What is the pricing? Oh yeah, please go ahead.
So I have seen that there are a lot of similar markets which are coming up, like I'm from Jaipur. So here we have similar concept, it's called tiny roots. So what are the different pricing strategies that you're adapting to make yourself different from other markets, or the strategies that you're using in terms of marketing or the product quality?
So, you want me to take it or you want to take it?
Yeah, go ahead, Manoj. I'll add on to you.
So basically, number one is that since we procure in a huge volume, we are able to get a very comfortable margin, which allows us to give the produce to the thelawala either at Mandi rates or 1 rupees or 2 rupees below Mandi rates, which is extremely attractive. That gives more flexibility to the thelawala as well to sell and give flexible rates to the end customer. I think that's a very important aspect to it. The second is that as we go online, I think that is going to be a very interesting angle for the telawalas, because that'll expand, the customer base, and we'll be able to add more products and SKUs onto the thela. So once that happens, that'll differentiate us from other players who will be able to create mobile stores essentially that will be running around these cities. And your ability to call these will be in like literally 5 to 10 minutes. Because if you look at these guys in neighborhoods, there are at least 15 to 20 thelawalas in each neighborhood, and they can reach a house within like five minutes, maximum 5 minutes, if they especially have these e-carts. And if you have these e-carts with multiple other SKUs, like for example, toothbrushes, Colgates, shampoos, things like that, their basket size becomes much larger. And it's attractive for the customer to then purchase from them, because the advantage is that I can pick and choose my own products. So normally what happens is that all these guys, package something and send it to you. Now, if I don't like it, then I have to go and, return it back and then wait for a refund, etc. This way, the mobile store comes to you, and I'm able to physically pick and choose what exactly I want and what exactly I don't want. And that way, for example, you're having a dinner at home and suddenly you order produce, right? And it comes in and you realize, oh, my onions are really not good. Like, I can't cook with these onions. Then what are you going to do? So this way, like, this takes out, all those issues, because the thelawala comes to you, you pick the right onions that you want, and you're very happy, and there's no refund process. There's no exchange process, things like that. And we save as well from that, because normally when you refund and exchange, there's a transaction charge on our end as well. So that we get a huge advantage from that as well. Suryansh, you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, sure. I mean, you pretty much covered all the points, but the main thing is basically that your local cart pusher, I mean, a lot of people are already buying from them. It's not like we're introducing something new to the community.
Yeah.
It's already existing. So there's a huge factor of customer loyalty that's already existing. And all these thelawalas have their, targeted 50, 60 houses that they go to, and they know that these customers, what they like, what they don't like. The only thing we're doing now is, streamlining the business from the back end, and on the front end, we're taking them online. So, giving them a more, basically giving them access to a larger market, essentially, right? So they can be accessed by more people and basically have their entire produce on sale online as well.
Simran, I see your question, but I think Mishka's hand's up. Mishka, you have a follow-up?
Yeah, I have actually. Firstly, it's an amazing idea. So congratulations on coming up with the
Thank you
idea.
so much.
Yeah, I have two questions on the contrary. First, like you said, that you're not actually preserving the goods that you're getting from.
Right.
But to actually deliver in such a climatic condition, since India is actually one of the most drastic climatic conditions in the place, so you must be doing something to preserve them if you're tying up with the thelawalas.
So, yeah.
Good.
Okay. So, Mishika, what happens is the Mandi is 24/7, right? So there's stock coming in from 7 p.m. all the way up till 6 a.m., back and forth. So actually, what happens is there are two types of stock that comes into the Mandi. One is the stock that's coming in from other states, which is, let's say, tomatoes or onions, which is not grown locally. That usually comes in at night between 7 p.m. to 12 a.m. The other stock that comes in is the local homegrown farmer produce, which comes in about 3 a.m., right? Which is from 3 a.m. to 6 a.m. Now, the stock that comes in from other states, that usually has a high risk of, being not so fresh, because it's traveled through, many, many miles and coming from God knows where. But the stock that's coming in from the local farmer, it's recently plucked maybe just a couple of hours ago, right? So it's coming directly to the Mandi that's been recently plucked and it's absolutely fresh. So when we go to the Mandi, when our supply agents are in the Mandi, they go and they pick up the entire stock from the farmer. So there's no sort of negotiation that happens in terms of, how much you're going to take, how much you're not going to take, how much you're going to pay. It's whatever you have, you're going to pick up every single thing you're there to sell. And we will pick it up at probably at a rate, maybe 1 rupee or 2 rupees lower than the Mandi, because we're helping him save time and money as well. So the reason why we don't require any preservatives is simply because we focus predominantly on the local farmer produce in the Mandi. And once we pick that up, that already has a shelf life of 2 days from the time it has been plucked. And it is delivered within 3 hours of us procuring it to the thelawala. So the freshness is absolutely crisp and absolutely fresh. I hope that helps answer your question.
Awesome. Mishka, if you have more questions, could you point them now? I don't want to sort of take all the time. We've got a question from Simran. It's a clear win-win for the thelawala. Don't you guys want to do 1,000 thelas in 3 months and not the year end? I think they're trying to ask if 1 year is too long of a time to take up just 1,000 thelawalas.
No, absolutely. We kept that in mind.
Yeah.
That we are in the midst of building, like creating our warehouse. That itself will take like a month and a half. So we've kept that in mind. So month and a half plus 3 to 4 months, anyway, takes you around 5.5, 6 months. So we've kept that timeline, in mind before, in mind that we're moving and shifting as well. So that keeping that in mind, obviously, I mean, our aim is to be scaling up as fast as possible in the city. So yeah, I mean, we're going to try as sooner rather than later.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I have a question from a Slack channel that says, do you have investor interest already, or are you bootstrapped by design? I don't think you're bootstrapped currently.
No. We've raised some money recently, and we are continuously right now raising a bit more money, and then we're going to close around in about 2 to 3 more weeks, and then we're done for this round.
Awesome. So who would be like your ideal investors if you're going to just put it out in the universe and manifest their?
Yeah, no, certainly. I think it's important to sort of identify the types of investors we're also looking at, and we prefer them to be strategic partners rather than just people who are coming on with capital. Yeah, so I mean, capital definitely helps, but we want some people who have experience, at least in aggregation, in e-commerce, in the fresh produce business, things like that. That's always an added plus.
Awesome. I have a question before I'll give it to Govind. Who do you think are currently your competitors, and where do you think you are placed against them?
So it's a very good question. We've been like trying to find similar competitors in the landscape. Yeah. But there's no really big competitor in our landscape that has come up and really taken up this model.
Done what we're doing
on a larger scale. I think the closest company on a large scale that would be similar to us is like a Ninja Cart. However, they actually only service restaurants, small kirana stores, hotels, things like that. So more on the Horeca side. And they also have a huge amount of burn because their supply chain is directly focused on aggregating farmers. So their burn is a lot.
Logistics is very high.
There's a lot of wastage. There's a lot of logistics cost. So we actually spoke to a person who was working on the founding team of Ninja Cart, and he kind of walked us through it and said that he actually pointed this out very clearly, saying that our logistics cost is actually like around 15 to 18% of the business, which is why because it comes, you have to send trucks to the FPO, which is basically in the villages. Yeah. The trucks comes to their sorting center. Then from there it's sorted, and then after that the trucks are sent to the distribution center. So there's a lot of different logistics costs that they bear, along with taking the hassle of purchasing all their stock from the farmers, going through a lot of burn because there's a lot of wastage. So the model is extremely different. Even the target market is different, but the fact that they service B2B is a similar part.
Awesome.
So I'm going to add to that.
Yeah, also, they're very focused on tier 1 cities, whereas we are only focused on tier 2 and tier 3 cities. And also, just to be very clear, and I want to make this super clear, that we are not just a fruits and vegetables company. We are actually a platform that is providing services to a very underserviced community of people, right? We start off by aggregating and supplying fruits and vegetables, but ultimately there's a whole aspect, like Ariman had mentioned very early on, is that we have lending, we have microcredit, we have electric vehicles, we have a whole expanse of different plethora of things that we want to offer to these guys, that they're just primed for at the moment. And that's the basic differentiating factor between us and any other grocery platform that exists.
Awesome. Govind, do you have a question?
Yeah, my last two questions. The first one is, I'd invested in a company called Minkspace/Minko. So they gave credit to retailers, and then they started cross-selling prepaid cards and Tata Sky recharges. What's the most wildest thing you guys have thought of in case of how you can use these thelawalas to create business for yourself and for them beyond, say, helping them procure vegetables? I mean, have you looked at that yet or no? And the second question is, intrinsically, this is somewhat, you can make money from day one, right? I mean, how are you guys looking at it? Because people hire teams and somehow that burn mentality still precedes. So do you think you may be positive very early, or do you think, no, you will need to burn? So two separate questions.
Right.
So
Sorry, I basically was like, are you sorry? I just want to say that I basically laughed because, Ariman and I, whenever we're talking, we have these crazy ideas as to what all we can do with these guys. And one of the ideas that I had, very late at night, and I was telling Ariman, so this was like, I was basically telling him, hey, why don't we create like them as basically hotspots, because there's so many of them around the city that we can create like a mesh network and create like Wi-Fi enability. And he just told me to shut up after that. So that was probably the craziest.
Actually, a very
Good idea.
idea.
I was thinking, why not sell products like sanitary pads, right? Which don't read.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I was actually saying that that's what I mean. Essentially, that's what the whole idea comes in, where these compartments are there, right? So you can sell household products, you can sell other FMCG products, you can sell a lot more different things through these compartments with these EV carts that we design. So we're definitely at some point going to be expanding into that and creating more of SKUs for them to sell, and more that'll attract more households to order from these telawalas as well. Because you just don't. If you just only are able to order only groceries, vegetables, there's a limit to it. If I'm then allowed to order technically what my household requires, like if I need Dettol, I need like you said, sanitary pads or anything else, I'm allowed to use that person and for it to come home to me directly.
Right.
The wildest
And it
thing
doesn't have to be. And it doesn't have to be available on the cart, right? It doesn't, or not all the SKUs have to be available on the cart 24/7, because the guy is delivering fresh produce or delivering milk in the morning. He can just take the produce or take the goods with them that require to be delivered next day. Because see, people in tier 2 and tier 3 cities, they don't want things in 10 minutes. They have time, they can wait, they don't want things in 10 minutes.
True.
Yeah. So as long as it's coming at a good price and it's coming from a trusted source, and these thelawalas have been supplying to these houses for generations, actually, in many cases, right?
Precisely.
So there's a huge trust factor that's there. So I know that if thelawala mere ghar pe dal la raha hai, I know it's going to be good quality and I can trust this guy who's bringing it, right? Or at least I'll make an effort to try it once.
All right. So we've noticed that you
Shruti, my second question. Sorry.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yes, please go ahead.
What do you guys think about profitability? Because I know people who build D2C brands and taken them to IPO, and I know people who build D2C brands and have had Series F, and D2C brands don't need Series F.
That's a good question. Our aim is to become profitable in the next 8 to 9 months. That's why we've targeted at least expanding into the city and getting 1,000 at 1,000 vendor scale. We will definitely be profitable. So that's what we're looking at in the next 6 to 8 months. And then post that, we want to go in for a larger round to then expand into other cities.
Yeah. What the beauty of this model, Govind, is that every city is independent of each other, right? There's no dependency between the two, cities. Like in other cases, very D2C brands where you have one supplier that's going all across the country and things like that. Over here, every model is working independently and is a whole different cycle in itself.
No, my point was, even you guys are intrinsically profitable. So why run at a loss for too long, right? My point was, D2C brands should never run a loss, but some of them still continue running losses.
Most of them do. But
there's actually a balance you need to strike between scale and profitability. If we try to become profitable too early, it will impede with the speed at which we can scale. So I think the main focus is to basically have a good team that is trained, that is able to suddenly handle a lot of vendors getting onboarded at once. Because if we go the other way, where we are able to onboard many vendors at once and then try and build a team, it's going to completely shatter our market credibility, right? Because we won't be able to deliver at time, quality will be all over the place and things like that. So that initial part of the 6 months, we have to sort of bear a little bit of loss, right? Where we're training the team, building the backend, and then once we onboard, and you can suddenly see the profitability coming up very fast.
Got it. Thanks. Shruti, back to you. No more questions from me.
No, actually, he answered one of my questions I was about to say about having one distribution center versus having a distribution center in almost every city. I actually just have one more question that relates to what is the immediate future plan? I understand that you're looking at profitability in probably a year and to expand, but what's like the overall 5 years, 10-year sort of a term goal that you have?
Right. So I think over the next 5, 10 years is definitely a long time. I would say in the next 5 years, we want to at least onboard, more than 20, 30,000 cart pushers in over, let's say 50, 60 cities, right? That would easily put us at a 15 to 20,000 crore revenue per year. And that's the target that we want to achieve. One big thing is that, if you look at the online vegetable grocery market, in tier 1, tier 2, basically in tier 1 cities, that's basically dominated by these big baskets. That's just 1%, 2% of the entire industry, right? It's not big what they have captured. The entire 98% is actually offline, and it actually exists in tier 2 and tier 3, tier 4, tier 5 cities, right? Then people are just not focusing on that. So I think with such an early mover advantage that we have and the community that we target, which is so ubiquitous around the country, I think in the next 3 to 5 years, we should be India's largest distribution company of fresh produce.
Correct.
Okay. Now I understand that you're not looking to target the tier 1 cities, and also the fact that the big baskets and the rest of them have dominance over there. They are always looking to go into new markets, which in this case will be your market. So do you have a strategy? And we probably will run out of time by the time you end up answering this. But do you have like a strategy?
I think they end up cutting the thela wala, right? So these guys have an additional layer, which is a benefit and a downside. I mean, up to them to explain it. Yeah.
No, so I think that's pointed out very correctly. I think that's one point that's there. But the additional point is like all these other advantages that the customer gets, right? Number one is that I have in a tier 2 city, it's all built on, my thela wala who understands me, etc. So, when you onboard these guys and they're able to sell to these guys, they form even stronger relationship with them. So like that's number 2. Number 3 is that we want to enable and equip them before these guys come in, so that these guys are powerful enough to compete with the big baskets, the Zeptos, the Blinkits, etc. So they will be ready to compete with these guys. The third point is that I personally feel is that these guys, since they're so abundant across these tier 2 and tier 3 cities, it's going to be very difficult for them to capture their particular market. If you look at even Delhi today, we had calls with a lot of investors from Delhi and Bombay today. Even their families, they sometimes, when they don't have, like, if they want to pick up something fast, they just run down the building and their thela walas is right in front of them, and they go and purchase directly from them. So even in tier 1 cities, these guys have still a huge amount of power in terms of customers coming to them and purchasing from them. So even though these guys come in, I think that number 1, we'll have a first mover advantage. Number 2, we will build a strong relationship for not only between us and the thela wala, but also between the thela wala and the end customer. And the third point is we'll also be able to create a strong brand presence. And by doing, and what do I mean by that is that we're going to be branding all these thela walas. So there'll be a My Mandi brand that will be created with these thela wala. So even customers will be able to identify that this is a My Mandi thela wala, this is good quality, he'll be having additional items, etc. So that also helps not only the customer get attracted to My Mandi, but also the end customer, but also our customer, which is the thela wala, get attracted to My Mandi. Because as soon as they see like, oh, what is this My Mandi thela wala roaming around this neighborhood again? Like, I want to know what this is. So then they find out, they'll also want to get on board, etc. So you have like by creating this ecosystem, you basically have a very easy form of marketing. You're basically standing with a My Mandi thela in each neighborhood outside each one's house.
Correct.
So
Yeah.
that is an extremely powerful, tool as well
Brand
that we
presence,
have
yeah.
compared to others.
I think grocery will also have touch and feel. We've never ordered grocery on any big basket of
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
because of the touch and feel also. You
Touch
may
and
order a
feel
is
Coke, you
missing.
may order a Maggie. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And in tier 2 and tier 3 cities, that's a very, very important
Yes.
aspect that's required for purchasing.
Yeah.
Yes, that's one of the issues we faced while we introduced e-commerce in the tier 2, tier 3 at Snapdeal. Nobody wanted to buy unless they
Well,
were.
you can
Pick
see
and
that
choose,
right
right.
now. You can see that right now as well. Like Jio had started groceries and then they stopped.
Yep. Yep.
In
It is
workers,
stopped, yeah.
they closed down. Now they're only doing FMCG products that they can store.
Right.
They stopped doing
That too,
groceries.
like struggling pretty hard with it.
Awesome.
Shruti, glad to have a session without DAU, MAU, and downloads, right? Much more real.
Yeah, I'm actually very interested into having that discussion. I've been fortunate to see the e-commerce play out in the country. So I'm very happy to connect with the two of you later on. We're
Yeah,
on
certainly.
the top of the hour. Thank you so much for joining us today. This was an absolutely amazing, informative,
much.
and very uplifting for the community session. We are very happy to have you here. Thanks a lot, Govind, for arranging this. Amazing founders, amazing stories, amazing companies that they're building. And we are very fortunate to have had the pleasure of understanding this. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much.
Last point, Suryansh and Aryaman, Shruti, the alpha means what's the testing program you guys have? It may help them.
Alpha users program, yes. So we've got an alpha users program where we test out applications and websites for founders who would like to have a beta testing done on their product. Very happy to help you out.
I think
Yeah,
that'll
100%. We reach out to you for that.
No, that'll be
Certainly.
really helpful for us.
So we have about 20, 30 product-oriented minds test out your product, give you feedback. You can get on a call with them or just ask for an email and get understanding of what the real world user might see your product as. So very happy to help you out with that as well.
Perfect.
Everyone in the audience, thank you for joining us on this great afternoon.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a great day. Bye.
I will stop.